Hello everyone. I have another 5 more cards and 3 bonus cards from the Simon Says Stamp card kit, Garden Greetings. So the first card I used some pearlized card from a previous Simon Says Stamp card kit to make a card base. And then I've taken some pearlized card to emboss that panel. Then we're going to take the vellum and silver emboss on there with the stamp, that long floral stamp. And it helps if you score the edges, but I'm going to try to center it across this embossed panel, and I had some double stick tape on the sides to help me get that adhered down. And then I'm just going to add a little more adhesive. Now for these cards, many of them are made from scraps from leftover from the previous 5 cards, the first 5 cards I made with the kit. So this one I just was trying something new with the other stamp, but many of the other cards are from leftovers, and I'll mention that later. So again, we're going to take some vellum and use the stamp Thank You and emboss it in the silver. I've used the double stick adhesive on the back there, and very carefully I'm going to try to center it on this tiny little piece of ivory pearlized card there. And I have some score lines, and you can see I've scored it a couple times because, you know, there was trial and error involved, but I've given you the measurements that I used in the end. And then I'm gonna put some foam tape and then just have that popped up down in the bottom right hand corner, and that will finish off the first card. So for card number 2, I used these dies here that I had got. They're Hero Arts from a My Monthly Hero, I believe it was January 2020. And then also I used the die Smile from a Spellbinders kit, Stay Wild, May 2019. But you could use any die sentiment you had or any old punch of a butterfly. And again, the embossing folder is handy here as I've embossed it in the light gray cardstock that comes in the kit. I think the dark gray was something I had in my stash that I made the card base out of. And I think it's a top folding card there. And then this was a scrap of the beautiful floral pattern paper from leftover from what I had cut from my first 5 cards, and I cut a little tail, banner tail in that, and then I'm going to trim off the excess here, and then I have taken the die of the butterfly and put a little bit of mounting tape, and then I'm going to use some wet glue to glue down the center of the butterfly. That way the wings kind of stick out a little bit. And place this butterfly above the banner. Now, in retrospect, I would move this butterfly up just a smidge because my die of the word smile, the L is a little bit over the body of the butterfly. Oh well, it is what it is. And but if you're recreating this card with supplies you have, maybe move the butterfly up just a hair. And to finish off this card, I have a trio. I love putting a trio of things. Now, you could use the sequins from the kit if you didn't have a little butterfly punch, but I have this tiny butterfly punch that I've punched out these 3 butterflies in white card, and I'm going to place them down below the sentiment there in the bottom right-hand corner. And that finishes off the second card. So for the third card, again, we have some scraps. This is also from that My Monthly Hero die set, and it's a rose, but you could use any old floral that you have. Then I made a card base out of white, and I'm using the pink cardstock from the kit. And then this is my dark gray cardstock that I pulled in from my stash that I've embossed. That 3D folder is really awesome, and I love the look that it gives. And so I'm going to use wet glue here. I had a lot of trouble with that tape runner that came in the kit. You'll have to let me know in the comments if you had similar problems with it. The glue dots from the tape runner seem to be sticking on the side of the runner, and so it catches. Anyway, so I stopped using it at points, and I also cut out a lot of footage of me struggling. This is another scrap from the other previous cards, and I'm using this floral scrap. Put it down. I wanted to tuck that rose die underneath. So thankfully, one great thing about the tape runner is it does let you pull it up easily without ruining the paper. And then I took the dies from the kit, the hugs outline, as well as the hugs, and cut the hugs out in white and the light gray cardstock that comes in the kit. And I cut the outline out of vellum. And so I'm going to use wet glue to place the white hugs offset on top of the gray so it looks like it has a little shadow there. And then I'm going to glue it down onto my vellum outline, or shadow. And then I will carefully add, well, I'm going to let this dry for a little bit first. I put a little acrylic block on top of it and take this scrap of dark gray, which I have stamped the Love You in white pigment ink there on that. Now when I use the wet glue, I'm going to just be careful to put it just where underneath the letters so that it doesn't spill out too much. Sometimes I get way too much glue. This time I did all right. And then again, I'm going to use the wet glue just to glue down this Love You sentiment just below the hugs. And that will finish off this card. And I really like how it turned out, and I'm able to use a lot of the scraps. And I still have some scraps. I can make more cards even. So on to card number 4, I have from the light gray cardstock that came in the kit. And then I have this script panel that I've cut out. This was one of my favorite pattern papers. Now this one, you may remember if you saw my other card video, this is my big oops panel, and it's cut out of that. And when you cut that out, these are kind of in the wrong order, but you want to keep the frame. You'll see on the next card. So if you're doing this with me, maybe wait, watch the video, and then go back. So I have this love story sentiment. You'll see what I mean on the next card here. So I'm going to place down the script pattern paper, and then I have this other rectangle that I used a rectangle die to cut out so that I'd have the frame. And it was from my big oops panel that had the embossing powder that kind of scraped off in my previous video. So I'm using wet glue to place that down. I've got it on scraps of foam, adhesive foam. And then I have just a heart die that I had. I don't even know who makes this die. I kind of wanted a heart down there. So any old hearts would do that you have. Gluing, and I cut that out twice and glued them together so it has a little more sturdy and dimension. Then the love story came from the kit. Cut that out and place it down, and this will finish off the 4th card and saves my mess up from my previous video. Now this 5th card, I'm going to use a black card base, and then this is the frame from card number 4. So you save that frame. Now if you don't have a die that you're cutting it out, you can cut the window very carefully with an X-Acto knife. Just be careful to get it even. That was the most difficult part. Then I have this other scrap of embossed card that I was trying out an idea, and so it's left over from that. I had used the white pigment ink on the flat side, and so you can just see a little bit of the white coming through. But I didn't want to throw out this little practice scrap, so I'm using it in this card. And that's why it's not quite even. Like if you cut yours, you can cut it even, but mine was just a scrap that I was trying out ideas on. And so I'm placing that with the wet glue and using the frame to figure out where to put it, trying to center it and placing it down. And then the hardest part of this card for me was getting this frame straight, because I wanted that little black border. It'd probably be easier without the little black border if the frame panel was the same size, but this is what I had. So I got it eventually, but I did have to pull it up and redo it a couple times. And then the happy birthday sentiment I've put up on foam tape in the middle of that well, and I'm just adding a little wet adhesive, because these are some pearls, adhesive back pearls I had in my stash that are old, so I didn't trust the adhesive. And that finishes off the 5th card. Now we have some bonus cards. Now this first bonus card was done with the longer stamp on watercolor card, embossed with clear embossing, and then I white embossed the thank you sentiment on a vellum circle. And I used mermaid markers. And for this one, I used also watercolor card, but I used oxide inks, and I did quite a bit of layering of those 2 oxide inks. And the stamping of the focal part was also stamped in the oxide and then clear embossed in those 2 colors there. And for the third, that was a big oops, the panel. I mean, I'd done it with this Shabby Shutters Oxide ink on the flat side, but I didn't like how it turned out. And then I used the white pink pigment ink to run across the raised side. And I really like how I rescued my little panel that I didn't like. I just kept working with it. And that would be the third bonus card. So let's have a quick look at all the cards today. So there was 5 more cards that we made. I showed you the process of making, and then 3 bonus cards. And I still have supplies from this kit. So I'll probably make more cards, but probably not make a video. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.